All right, so we're back after Christmas break, and we're going to use a loop to average numbers. So let's get into the TI83, and let's start. All right, this was the Westbury Music Fair problem, right? We had 48 chairs in one row or something? Okay, we're not doing that. Okay, so what are we doing? We're going to figure out how to average a bunch of numbers without knowing how many numbers are going to be entered. Now, we need a loop, right? Why? Because you have a whole bunch of inputs, right? So you're going to loop through the inputs. So you're going to ask the user to enter a grade, then enter another grade, enter another grade. But what kind of loops do we know? Forget TI83. How about Sage? What kind of looping do we know? While loops and for loops. What would be better here? A while loop. Why? Because the while loop can ask the question when to stop. Right? Yeah, are you in? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so a for loop, I use a for loop when I know it's exactly how many times I'm going to loop, how many times I'm going to repeat. So if I know I'm always going to average 3 numbers or 4 numbers, I'll set up a for loop that goes 4 iterations, right? But this is a while loop because I'm going to let the user tell me when to stop. All right, so now we need what's called a sentinel loop. Listen up, guys. Shh. Now we need something that's called a sentinel, something to stop the loop. So why are we looping? What do we have to do over and over and over? Add, yes. What else? We're going to add a bunch of numbers over and over and over again, but we're also going to get those numbers. We're going to input those numbers, right? So in the loop, you're going to be adding. In the loop, you're going to be prompting for input, right? But how are you going to tell the loop to stop? Well, think about it. What if you're averaging a bunch of grades, like test grades? What kind of numbers are you going to enter? 100. They're always 100? For Tati, they're always 100. Okay. Something out of 100, right? So I guess 0 is possible. Anything from 0 to 100. What aren't you going to enter? Negatives, or anything more than 100. So we could make the loop keep on repeating itself for every time that you put in a normal grade. But if you put in, like, say, a negative number, it knows to stop. Yeah? Your computer froze? Yeah. Wait up, YouTube. This happened over there. So we're going to get started. Hang on. We have a little technical difficulty removing Nick. All right, so let's get started. Here we go. So how do you start? Well, let's start from scratch. Program, new. How about we call it AVG? Short for average. So alpha A, alpha V. Whoa. I was in alpha already. That messed me up. Program, new. I'm in alpha already. Okay. A, V, and G. AVG. All right. All right, so let's average both the numbers. So we're going to need a loop that, let's see. You want to do a clear home? Okay, where's that? Program IO8, is it? There it goes. All right, clear home. Then let's do a while loop. Okay, so let's see. Program, do you see it? Where's the while loop? 5, right? Okay. All right, now, while what? When is this while going to keep on going? Right, when you're entering 0 to 100. So if the grade that's entered is like negative, we're going to stop, right? So how about while, I don't know, alpha G for grade is less than 0? Sorry, greater than or equal to 0, we'll keep on adding, yeah? Is that for parabola? No, this is average. Yeah. Parabola is going to be a for loop. We'll get to that. All right, so while G is what? When do you want this loop to keep on adding grades? Greater than or equal to 0. I guess you could get a 0, right? So where's greater than or equal to? Second math. Greater than or equal to is 4. Okay, so if the grade is greater than or equal to 0, we're going to do stuff with it. Okay, enter. But notice we didn't enter any grades yet. So there's two things going on. A while loop has to be primed. You have to set up the value of G before you start. Okay, so that actually has something to do with G. And you also have to prompt the user now for input. So what are we going to do? What are you going to prompt the user for? G. Okay, so program, IO, prompt, alpha G. What are you going to do with alpha G? Each grade. What are you going to do with each grade? Yeah, but before you average them, you got to add them all up, right? Okay, so how do you add stuff up, you know? Take alpha G and do what with it? How do you add stuff? An accumulator, a sum. Right? You do sums. We haven't, I don't know if we did a summation loop yet in the TI, but we did it in Sage. We did it in Python. No? Well, do we have a variable for the sum? Do we have a variable for the sum? Do we? Anybody there? Guys still on vacation, huh? Do we have a variable for the sum? No. We have a variable for the grade. One grade. I want the sum of all grades. So I need another variable. What are you going to call it? A or S? S? Okay, so how about take that grade, add it to alpha S, and then do what with it? You have to prompt it, though. I prompted G. I'm going to take all the G's, add them up. But if I take G plus S, what are we going to do with that answer? Store it where? You know, yeah, you know. You know, over there somewhere, yeah. In RAM, I know. Huh? Take G plus S and make it the new value of S, exactly, alpha S. All right, so it's going to take the old value of S, add on G, add G to it, store that as a new value of S. So it's going to be an accumulator. It accumulates all the grades, adds them all up one at a time, right? Yeah.
Don't need to prompt for S?
No, because S should start at, we know what S should start at. Sums always start at, what do sums always start at? 0. Where should I do that, though? Before the loop. Oh, okay, go back to the beginning of the while line. How do I push that down? Second delete is insert, enter, right? Okay. And then there I'm going to do what?
Wow.
0 stores as S. Right, perfect, very nice. All right, so we prompt for the grade, we add it to S, then we keep on doing this as long as G is not negative. So is that it for the loop? How do you tell it what to stop looping? You have to tell it like what lines are being repeated. End, exactly. So program, what? 7, right? Okay. All right, so now what are we going to do? What are we going to print out? We have input, right? We have process. We need output. What are you going to output? Well, we wanted the average, right? How to get the average? It's the sum divided by how many? Oh, wait, we don't have a variable for how many, do we? We need a counter. We need some kind of a count that says how many, right? So I think the loop is not done. Go back here, push the end down. Second, delete is insert, enter. What goes in here? We need another variable. How about for counting, what are you going to call it? C, okay. How about we say take 1 and do what with it? Add it to alpha C, and then what? Store that as alpha C. All right, so C keeps track of how many grades you're inputting, right, the count, so that I can output how many I have. So let's go back down here. So what do you output? What is the average?
G divided by C.
Not G divided by C, careful. S divided by C. How do you output stuff? Program, I/O, display. Okay. And how about we label it? It's the average, right? So display alpha quote, alpha A, alpha V, alpha G equals, so second test 1, alpha quote, comma, whoa, I lost it. Program, edit, average. There it is. I got out of here somehow. Comma, and whoops, I forgot the quote, didn't I? So let's see, alpha quote, comma, what? What should I write right there? S divided by C, perfect. Alpha S divided by alpha C. All right, so let's see if this works. Let's run it. Program, average. Now let's do an easy example. How about just 2 numbers? What's the average of 10 and 20? What's the average of 10 and 20? Do it in your head. 15. All right, so type in 10 for first grade. Type in 20 for another grade. And now what? Now how do you make it stop? I only wanted to average those 2 numbers. How did we say we're going to make it stop? I know it never stops unless you enter what? A negative number. How about -1? And I got 14.5. Wait a minute. What? What? Didn't we say the average should be 15? It's off by a half. That's weird. Why is that? Let's try it again. Run it again. How about, where's my clear home? There's no clear home here. That's weird. Okay, program, average, enter. Why is it, oh, now it's...
Mr. Garcia, don't you have the prompt before the while? Not
That's part of it. Okay, program, edit, average. Yeah, there's something wrong with the order here. We need a prompt before we start, so we know if it's positive or negative. And then we have to do a prompt after we add, so that if they enter a negative number, it doesn't get added. So we got the prompt in the wrong place, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, let's prompt instead of initializing G, let's prompt it. So second insert, push down the while, put the prompt here. So program IO prompt alpha G, and then delete this one. All right, so is that it?
Wait, but don't you need to keep prompting it?
I need another prompt. Where? The problem is that the prompt was before I added. And if I prompted a negative number, it got added in. You didn't want that. You want the negative number not to count. You want the negative number just to stop everything. So don't put the prompt before you add. Put the prompt after you add. Push down the end and prompt for the second grade and the third grade and so forth. So program, IO, prompt, alpha G again. So like we said, a while loop is good when you don't know when to stop. It decides for you. If you enter 2 numbers in the negative, it stops. You enter 3 numbers in the negative, it stops. If you enter 4 numbers, it averages them out. When you put in a negative, it stops, right? But you also have to prime the loop. You have to start. You have to tell what G is at least once before the loop to get it started. That's called priming the loop. So while loops are a little tricky. For loops know exactly when to start, when to stop, and how to increment. While loop's a little more tricky. While loop knows when to stop, but you have to prime it, and you have to keep on entering stuff. You keep on having to change something so the loop will stop. All right, let's see if that works. Does everyone have all of this? That's the whole thing. Doesn't that fit on one screen? That's the whole thing, right? Ooh, excuse me. All right, so prompting for G. While G is non-negative, add it to S, increment count, and prompt the G again, end the loop. So it's only repeating these 3 lines, and display the average. All right, let's quit and run it. Program, execute 1. Let's do the 10 and the 20 again. And a negative number. Do we get 15 now? What?
I got 15. Oh, you put 10 instead of 100.
I got a 15.
Wait, guys, I need some.
I got a 15.
Back to the code? Yeah, something wrong with the counter, maybe, huh? No, you don't understand. That's a right, wrong answer. That's a good thing. Why is it wrong? Because the C was not initialized. You have to initialize stuff. C should start at 0. Because what happened was, C is whatever it was the last time I ran the program. We didn't initialize it to 0, it's still whatever that was. And now C gets incremented another couple of times. So instead of dividing by 2, I'm dividing by 4. You see what happened? So I got half the answer. So how do I fix that? Initialize C where? Right where we initialize the S, right, exactly. So initialize the C to what? To 0, right. So that's why initializing is very important. Especially if you're going to run the program more than once. Measured other than just done. Can you tell me about just done? No? All right, YouTube. You missed all of that. The problem here is now that C is wrong because we keep on incrementing C every time we ran the program, even the first time. So we ran it for, listen up, we ran it for 2 prompts in the first example. We ran it for another 2 prompts for this example. That makes C equal to 4 because we didn't initialize C to 0. So every time we run the program, it uses the old C. That's a problem. So go back up here, and how about we initialize the C here? Second delete is insert, enter. Let's make 0 stored as alpha C. Let's try that. All right, so 10 and 20 gets 15. Well, let's stop it with a negative number. And there it goes. Run it again. 150 should be what? 75? Remember, how do you stop it? Negative anything, right? There you go, 75, perfect. But you can do this for any number of inputs you want. How about 10, 20, 30 should be what? No? Shouldn't it be the number right in the middle? If you add 10, 20, and 30, you get 60. Divided by 3 inputs is 20. You should get 20, right? But I got to stop it with a negative something, and I got 20. Perfect. There you go, perfect. Very nice. All right, so anyone not have that? The only thing missing down here is the display line. No, it's missing a lot actually. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here actually. All right, everything here doesn't fit. Clear home, initialize S and C to 0, and then this is the rest of the program. All right, so who's stuck? By the way, you don't know Justin? Wait, guys, I just quoted Justin. You don't know Justin? No? You know Bob Ross, right? That guy, the painter, right? You ever watch that painter? It's on PBS. He's like teaching you how to paint. It's like, oh, a little tree lives over here, a little mountain over there, a little stream over here, right? Well, after Bob Ross, for the longest time, there was another show. Bob Ross was like half an hour, right? On Channel 21. You remember seeing this guy? Well, he's dead, that's why. Yeah, he died. But anyway, but right after that was a show called À la Justin, which was a cook. Did you see this guy? Did I tell you about this? Yeah, Mario was like, I didn't tell you. Justin is a cook. He was from Louisiana. He had this like thick Louisiana accent, you know. And he could cook anything, but he measured nothing, and it came out perfect. He would measure like without measuring cups or measuring spoons. He would measure stuff in his hands, and would just throw salt and sugar and whatever. It would come out perfect, right? So that's what I was doing. I was measuring a la Justin. Okay. All right. So is everything working? Who's stuck? Is average working? Anyone stuck with average? Does that make sense? So now you know how a while loop works in basic. Yeah. That's it, YouTube. Tomorrow's a for loop with Riemann sums. Parabola, average of under a parabola. Area under a parabola. Alrighty. So, bye.